Well, this year is very special, 70th anniversary of the Warsaw Ghetto Uprising. One of the great moments of heroism that not only lit a flame then, but they lit a flame that continues to burn to this day. The whole fight for Israel was inspired by them, and I just think today we're going to think about them and their indomitable courage.
Is it important to have the Yom HaShoah event in Hyde Park in central London, do you think?
Well, I think we need a central event, but I also think every community has to do their own. That's incredibly important. Yom HaShoah must be an indelible part of the Jewish calendar. We must never forget.
And your own personal message to the Jewish community on Yom HaShoah?
What they died for, let us live for. And just as the Warsaw Ghetto fighters fought for the right to live, so we will always fight for that right, so that we can continue to be a blessing, not only to our people, but to the world.
For me, Yom HaShoah is important because we need to make sure that future generations will always remember what happened to our people. It's vital that we have a single day that we can commemorate the tragedy that took place. The fact that the Jewish people still live on, that we have the State of Israel, that we can stand here freely and hold this service in an open place, shows that there is positive results of what happened, and despite everything, we're a strong nation and we will continue to survive.
The Holocaust is now passing from being a matter of memory to something of history, and it's up to us who are born in the generation after the Holocaust to perpetuate the memory of this huge importance, not just for Jewry but for the whole of humanity.
And is it important to mark the Shoah with events like this?
Absolutely. They do. They focus people's thinking, and it gets Jews more involved and gives us a message which we must put to the outside world as well. There is a message of hope, but overall it's a message of deep tragedy. It's like Tisha B'Av, we always end on an optimistic message, but that doesn't take away the pain.
I think the really important thing is that we remember what happened and try and make sure that the younger generation know what happened and understand it. The survivors, alas, are getting fewer and fewer, and so that really imposes an obligation on the rest of us to make sure that this message is understood. In the middle of this terrible human catastrophe, there are extraordinary stories of courage and hope and inspiration that are a lasting light to the rest of us.
For many years, the Jewish community fought to have a memorial to the victims of the Holocaust somewhere in a public place in London. And it's many years ago that Lord Janner succeeded in getting this memorial in the Dell, and for some years now we felt that given that we have it here, that this is the appropriate place for us to hold this event. Yom HaShoah shows us the very worst of mankind, but it also shows us, at times, the best of mankind, what good people are capable of. And I think the message is to remember that each one of us can in our lives do something which will help others and really make a difference.
Nobody must ever forget. It must go on into future generations.
And it's a great contribution that the JLGB are playing, isn't it, today?
Wonderful. The children need something to root them. Apart from family life, they need the schools, they need everything that is Jewish.
It's an opportunity for us all to come together to remember the very sad times of millions of people that have died through Holocausts, and obviously today remembering also the Jewish loss of life. From my perspective as a police officer and from the Jewish Police Association's perspective, we need to educate people, we need to go into schools, we need to go into long-established organisations and make sure they never forget the message and the history and the sadness and the loss of life.
It's important to remember, because man should be more kind to man. They should be more appreciative of mankind. And I think that, it's very difficult. In this day and age, people are so against each other. I think there should be more kindness, more consideration from person to person. Well, my involvement in the Second World War, I was age 9 when the war broke out, and I was evacuated as part of the Pied Piper, which was the whole of the scheme, evacuating children from the big cities so they wouldn't get killed or bombed out to the country. And I was evacuated for the duration of the war, so therefore it actually broke, from that point of view, it did break up our family to a great extent.
Well, there's a message, we have different messages for different people. The world should not forget, and you shouldn't forget the stark reality of what happened, but it also shouldn't forget the message that it brings for us in the future, that we must look to the good things out of this. Always remember the depth to which humans can descend, how vicious people can be, and yet how wonderful they can be, and how we can show an endurance that overcomes hate. And we have a message as Jews to give that to the whole world. I mean, the Holocaust, in a sense, has brought a huge message to the world. It has done more to change thinking about politics and human rights than any other single event. There's so much that has come out of this in terms of the Universal Declaration of Rights, in terms of our understanding of humanity, that it's got a very important message.
We obviously need to give thought to those that perished, that were murdered, 1.5 million children, 6 million souls, Jewish souls. But also we have to give thanks to those that helped those who survived, because many did survive, and we have to be thankful for that. We have to be thankful for the legacy that they've given this generation, and hopefully we must be the ones to pass that on to future generations.
Well, I think Yom HaShoah tells us, looking back, and we see that today, 70 years on, we have independence and sovereignty in the State of Israel, a revival of Jewish life throughout Europe. Places where Hitler thought he had extinguished it forever have come into life again. It just shows you that every tyrant who tried to destroy the Jewish people has been consigned to history, but Am Yisrael Chai, the Jewish people, lives.